has dwarves. Slow clap for all the morons. By the way, I'm just going to point out here, Disney does this with apparently every piece of content now. And that's okay. It's not like EA has dwarves. Because this is what Disney does now. Has dwarves. What they do is they take all their good IP, it's okay, and they cannibalize it and destroy it in favor of crappy new IP that nobody cares about. Dwarf.
Hey folks, it's me, Gooseifur. Oh fuck, I'm doing it. I've watched too much of this.
Well, folks, it appears that Disney really is interested in taking all of its great old IP and absolutely destroying it. The live action cannibalization of actual IP is an amazing thing. Second, the destruction of actual good IP in favor of new crappy IP is something Disney's been doing for a while, and they're doing it with everything.
Oh God, I swear, we just did this. Didn't we just do this in the last video? Like, guys, come on. If you're gonna talk about Disney, at least do it properly. You know, you want to talk about all the things that Disney is doing wrong and how they're ruining the intellectual property. Sorry, that was too manly for you. Ruining the intellectual property. 2010, we'll just go through this again since apparently Ben Shapiro just needs to hear it 6,000 fucking times. 2010, Alice in Wonderland live action remake. Through there, and since 2010, Disney has grown in net income almost every single year with very few outliers. By 2018, Disney had almost quadrupled their net income. The only time it dipped was when COVID happened.
In the actual fairy tale, it says skin, I mean, this is from the original 1936 Snow White. Skin as white as snow.
Now tell me, Ben, how many people do you know that look like that photo? It is a complete outlier to say skin as white as snow. We get it. We get the purest ideology, bud. You're not clever. Skin as white as snow. I don't know if you know this, but when you go skiing and you go snowboarding and things like that, you have to put sunscreen on your face. And it's because the goddamn snow is so reflective, you will get a fucking sunburn if you don't. Have you ever met a white person that will give you a fucking sunburn from being around them for too long? No, you haven't, fuckwad.
Right? That is literally in her name. That's why she has her name. So I guess just to like screw with people, they're casting Rachel Zegler is a very talented person. I'm just it's weird casting. Well, Snow White is like maybe the only racially specific white princess because it's in the name. It's weird casting. Hispanic person, 6 large people, and a little person. It's weird casting. Hispanic person. So she is, I believe, Colombian American is Rachel Zegler, and she is her father is of Polish descent. Her mom is from Colombia, or her maternal grandmother came from Colombia in the 1960s.
This section of what Ben Shapiro is saying is one of the most dangerous things that exists in our time. When he's discussing this actress who is going to be playing this part, he's very specifically describing how she is Hispanic. Notice that fact. He keeps mentioning that she is Hispanic. She was born in America. Her family happens to have Hispanic descent. All he's telling you is you're not pure-blooded white enough. Why do they always sound like Nazis? Why is it always the pure blood initiative with them? This actress isn't good enough because her white genetics aren't good enough. She happens to be a little bit darker. She happens to have Hispanic heritage. She is an American. When you start drawing the line on who you like based on what their parentage was, you've started making Ubermensch type shit. You're already going down the Hitler path, bud. And sorry, I don't know why people keep calling you Nazis when you keep fucking going for eugenics. You just want the perfect race, right? Pure-blooded, perfect for you. That's what it is, and that's what the problem is.
And it's not like greatly evil if a person is cast as what the part is. It's very strange to me that if you cast Alexander Hamilton as a black person, that's totally fine. But if you cast Martin Luther King as a white person, that is totally unacceptable. Maybe you should cast people as like what the description of the part is. There are certain parts where the person is described as white.
There are so many examples across Hollywood of whitewashing roles. I don't know how he's pretending this isn't a thing and just acting like he's on the other side of this and he's never heard of this. But let's just take a super recent example. Super, not even pun intended. The Super Mario Brothers. You want to talk about people being cast as what they are? Is Chris Pratt an Italian plumber? Is Jack Black a fucking giant lizard? Well, maybe he could be. Jack Black is fucking legendary. But that's not the point. The point is, it's fine to whitewash characters, but now you're getting pissed because the fantasy characters that could be fucking anything are people of color. But that's what it is for you, isn't it, Ben? That's why you don't like it. That's why it ruins the fantasy. Because no one would ever want to be a person of color, right?
Yeah, so one of the dwarves is also a woman. So that's again, makes for a very weird dynamic.
Honestly, guys, I'm sorry. I included this one in here because I figured I'd need a softball in there at some point. But I find it completely hysterical that the most absurd thing about this and this ridiculousness is that there's a woman now involved. It's not like, living with 7 dwarves out in the frickin' woods in the middle of nowhere in a tree is like, oh, no, now there's a woman. Now it's just weird. The fuck, dude? What dynamic are you worried about, Ben? Are you worried that somebody's not going to know what their day to clean is? There's 2 women now. Who's going to be in the kitchen? What is it, Ben? What dynamic is fucked up? Please tell us. Elaborate. Oh, that would involve having thoughts and box of rocks.
Apparently, this is all because of Peter Dinklage, the guy from Game of Thrones, who at one point was like, they're casting a racially diverse Snow White, but you're still telling the story of Snow White and the 7 dwarves. You're still making that effing backward story about 7 dwarves living in a cave together. First of all, they're the heroes of the story, you'll recall. And then Disney said it was taking a different approach to avoid reinforcing stereotypes from the original. Why is that a stereotype? What if they're just dwarves in the story? I don't understand. Like that, it's so strange that you would think that way. I mean, truly, that's a strange thing. The heroes of the story are the dwarves in Snow White and the 7 dwarves. The prince isn't even useful in the story. Right? The prince arrives at the very end and kisses Snow White and wakes her up. He didn't do anything about the witch. It's the dwarves who do something about the witch. And we can't have dwarves doing that. It has to be racially diverse tall people.
I'd really like to know how he doesn't know the stereotype in this, or why that they don't want to cast or stereotype little magic people who live in the forest. I wonder. How is that a stereotype, Ben? It's so strange that you would think that way and ignore history and culture. We have this thing called St. Patrick's Day, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. There's kind of leprechauns all across society and modern stuff. But you're just going to pretend that stereotype is nothing, right? They could just be dwarves in the forest. Come on, Ben. Shouldn't you know this one? It's white history. Thank you guys so much if you've gotten this far through the video. I greatly appreciate it. I can't stand when people talk like this. Ben Shapiro is an awful person. It's just hands down. He's an awful person. He's a moron and he's racist. To be Jewish and to actively pursue this agenda of this pure-blooded of disqualifying people from your class because they're not pure-blooded enough. To be that way to people is fucking disgusting. Someone needs to shut you the fuck down and shut you the fuck up.